All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, and their tears are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Mad world, mad world.
Bossy, pushy, selfish, show off, all descriptions of women in that ad by Pantene. And it shows women described negatively for the very same things that men are often praised for. So why is this ad generating so much buzz and so much praise? Well, here to talk about this and the issue of double standards is Kathy Winsted, marketing professor at Pace University. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us. And it already got more than 5 million views on Facebook out of this. Sheryl Sandberg, of course, of Facebook fame, Push In, or Lean In rather, says this is one of the best spots she's ever seen. It hits a lot of chords that a lot of women can relate to, can't they?
Yes, I think they definitely connect with the target audience here, and that's your objective in an ad. If it gets to the audience that you want, if it appeals to them, if it connects with them, then you can definitely accomplish something.
There's a lot of folks, maybe it's the guys who say, well, hasn't a lot of progress been made? Isn't it different now than it was, forget about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago? You look at women as recently as this week of one of the big auto companies right now, the first CEO. Is the glass ceiling been shattered or just a little cracked?
A little cracked is a great description. I think we're not quite there yet. And remember, this ad's only airing in the Philippines, so perhaps not even as much there as in this country. But it's definitely something all women in corporate America can relate to.
And we see the wage disparities, and we see all the other things that lead into it. And for women in professional circles, I've heard already today a lot of people say, I went through that exact thing. And you even have some anecdotal things where a guy is a team leader, but a woman is too much of a pushy or a self-promoter if she does the same thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it seems that when you work a lot of times with men and women on a committee or on a professional staff, the men feel for whatever reason they should be telling the women what to do. Sometimes even if the woman is more senior. So you do find that regularly, and you do get told, I've been called a number of things, shameless self-promoter and other such things for doing the same kinds of things that you would expect a man to do to get ahead in business. So,
did you guys ever hear this study? I want to get this right. It was like a Harvard case study, the Heidi Roiken case. No. I hadn't heard this before. No. I'm going to describe it. If I get it wrong, correct me.
Okay.
Basically, they take this person, and there's a profile of the person, and they change the name Heidi to Howard. And the reaction of the same candidate with the same personality traits, how they're described, it's night and day. And some of the students said they liked Howard. They'd hire him. Heidi, exact same resume, was selfish, and they didn't like her. They said Heidi sacrificing time with her family, while Howard is a family man. Yeah. Exact same things here. So it's not just in the imagination. If a woman works really hard at the office, she's not taking care of the kids. If a guy does it, he's dedicated and down the line, right? Exactly.
And they found that the aggressiveness, assertiveness in a woman is negatively associated with warmth. We just assume that an assertive woman who's getting ahead in the corporate structure is not a warm person. She's a cold fish, whatever. Whereas the guy is just becomes charismatic, is positively associated with warmth, or decided, well, since he gets along with people so well, this is a warm person. So you find opposites there, and they found that when they studied this case too. They gave it to two randomly selected groups of students and asked them about their opinions, and it was really quite astonishing. So maybe we're not quite there yet.
If these trends are changing, if we've seen a reduction in how, for example, in those test numbers, or just a sense that things are starting to balance out a little bit more?
I don't know. I really ought to do this case in my class and try to find out. But I think it is. I think it is changing. I think there's definitely positive momentum. But I think that most women today will still relate to some of the titles that you see in the Pantene commercial.
What do your students say about these types of studies, because I find this remarkable.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that you take a man, it's a positive, but you put the woman in and it's all negative. And the first thing that comes to mind is Hillary Clinton. You know, when she runs for president, what is she wearing? Or Janine Pirro when she was the district attorney of Westchester. You know,
and did they talk about what Barack Obama or Mitt Romney were wearing? I don't think so.
So what young people, they normally set the trends and so on.
Yeah.
What do your students say when they hear this type of information?
I can't tell you that. Like I said, I will try to do this in my class, but there have been some studies done by some of our honor students, sexism and advertising,
and
showing what it is,
show?
and they're pretty amazed at how much there is out there. I think that I don't think they think this way quite as much as my generation does, so I think things are improving, and they are really quite surprised to see the sexism that's still out there in the advertising, because there is quite a bit of it now. We just had a student do a study about that, so that even in the advertising that's going out there, it's present. But it does amaze the students a little bit. I don't think they expect it, and I'm guessing that the students in this study were even surprised when they found out how they had rated these people differently, because they certainly don't see themselves as gender biased.
You know, it's funny. Before this meeting, we were thinking, I would have thought we're farther. I mean, think about it. Most people say the odds-on favorite to be the next president of the United States, probably, all things equal, probably be a woman, right? So, but imagine, I was just thinking, when the Obamas went to Hawaii for vacation, and the president was shot in just a bathing suit, and there was more questions about how did the camera get access. Do you imagine if Hillary Clinton was shot in a bathing suit?
Well, there was that
standards
uproar.
and all the else would apply. It
There
would
was
be a
that
different
uproar.
story, wouldn't it?
Remember the shot when she was with Bill Clinton on the beach, and there was a huge uproar about Hillary
That's
being
right.
in that bathing suit?
That's right.
So, to prove your point.
Wow.
Yeah.
In terms of when this turns, right now you have more women than men as undergraduates in college.
Right.
You're certainly seeing a change. I mean, just look at the Times in the past week. You saw a cover story about men staying at home and literally being shot on camera, you know, on the front page of the paper.
Right.
They're staying at home while the women are going to financial institutions and other places of work. That never would have happened. The guys would have been, you know, in shadow. You know, they didn't want to be seen as the stay-at-home dad.
True.
So things are changing. What would you guess is the velocity of the change? Will this be a non-issue, you think, in 10, 15, 20 years? Or do you think it's going to be a little different, but we're not even close to leveling the playing field?
I don't think we're close yet in terms of expectations and labels and perceptions. And I think it may take some changes even in language. I was just reading in Time magazine how in Sweden they now have a new word for, it's not male or female, so it's han is a man, is he, and hone is she. I'm probably not saying them right. And hen, they've got a new word with an E in the middle, H-E-N, which means is gender neutral. And we don't have that yet. We can do parentheses around the S and then H-E, but it's always he or she, and it's kind of awkward. So maybe it'll take language changes in that type of direction. I'm not sure, but I think we're certainly much more willing now to accept women as equally competent. I don't think that's a problem.
And be honest, guys. If you think about, we talk about when they're at these positions, how they're judged for certain actions, but even to get to that position, if a young guy has assumed a position of authority here, he got there because charming, go-getter, and whatever else. What's the innuendos that follow a young woman who got up the corporate ladder very quickly?
Who did she sleep with, is what they say.
Right.
I didn't want to be the one to say
Who did she
it.
sleep with?
I'm glad you said it.
So
It is, that's what they
baseless
say.
90-something% of the time, I'm
Yep.
sure, completely without it, but that's the first assumption
First thing they
some
say.
people
Who's
make
she
here.
sleeping with? I've heard it from my husband. I've heard it from other people. You know, how did this? What are they related to, or who are they sleeping with, or what's going on? As opposed to clearly they had the skills and talents to get
And
there.
by the way, that was the night the husband slept on the couch. But no,
No.
but to that point, now is, you know, it's funny. My viewpoint on so much has changed when I had daughters. And you try and
does.
instill in them,
Yes.
you're as good as any stupid boy is. You can do
Right.
anything they can or whatever else. But there's a part of it which is there are advantages to being a woman, right? And how does somebody navigate not losing those advantages inherent with being a woman, while at the same time demanding for some of the same opportunities that you're not, you know, prejudiced against because you're not one of the guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to keep the ability to multitask, the empathy that women are known
Exactly,
for,
yeah.
but also be willing to have the
Better
assertiveness and not have it be a
listeners and
negative.
everything else.
Exactly. So there's a lot of skills, and we ought to be also trying to get males to develop those skills more. So I think that's one of the studies they're doing in Sweden right now. They're trying to see if they start raising them with the same toys in the preschools and all that kind of stuff, if both genders are going to develop similar skills. But I think you're absolutely right. We want to hang on to those skills. We don't want to. We don't want to lose them.
And also, I think what's not tolerated, it was far more accepted if somebody called somebody a bitch. Now, all of a sudden, there's alarms that go off, rightfully so, when that word's thrown around for all the connotations. So
Unless
I guess
it's a rapper, then you hear it 90%
there you go,
of the time.
The permissiveness of certain things from before and now.
Yeah.
Very interesting here, but I think we'll agree on this. A very powerful commercial. If they want to get attention 5 million views later and counting, I think they did the trick.
Well, I think that's just it. I think that the companies are designing things a lot more now to go on social media. They're trying to design it to be shared. So this was just developed for the Philippines, and you had said to me at the beginning, this isn't going to sell any shampoo. But if it gets attention, if it gets women feeling like this brand really understands me and relates to me, and you get them on an emotional level, and they pay attention, then they're going to go buy your brand of shampoo.
I was kidding.
No, but it's true. A lot of people would look at
a
lot of people look at that ad and say this has nothing to do with shampoo. But if you get their brand
Shocking,
name up in
Dominic.
front,
Andrew sticking your foot in the mouth. Huh? All right, Kathy, thank you so much. All right, everybody. When we come back, we will wrap things up. Please stay with us.